Today we got Jacob back. That means NFL picks week 7. Let's go. Welcome back to the webcast, All Sports One Web. What a great weekend of NFL football, college football, MLB baseball, hockey, first week of the season getting in the books. We're getting NBA preseason as well. But before we get into NFL picks and all of that, because it is Wednesday here on the webcast, which means NFL picks, we have to talk about World Cup qualifiers. But for the U.S., there are none, because we already qualified for the 2026 World Cup. But we have to start there because Gio Reyna back in the squad, Greg Berhalter back on the sideline. Gio Reyna now playing kind of as a 10 position against Ghana, grabs 2 goals, one of the craziest things you'll ever see, an indirect free kick inside the box. You don't see those very often. He was able to capitalize on that as well. But what are your thoughts about that game against Ghana and where the U.S. sits with this young core of Musa, McKinney? Does Gio fit in for you, Tim Weah, and obviously Pulisic?
I mean, even just the Germany game, especially the first half, I feel like the U.S. put up a really good performance despite the loss. The Ghana game was another level, though. Granted, it wasn't the best Ghana squad we've seen, like early 2000s Ghana. Was a lot stronger. That's still not an easy team to take into halftime at 4-0. I don't care what country, any country would struggle doing as well as the U.S. did in the first half. I can't be more excited about this team. Weah, Balogun, Pulisic. We have so much talent. It's so great to see. It's good that Gio Reyna got over his little episode with Berhalter, and Berhalter kind of swallowed his pride and has realized he just needs to start for the US, and he's looking great. I think any team could use a player like Reyna. He could just hold the ball so well. He's got the creativity to find that final ball. I'm all about the US right now. I can't wait to watch more friendlies, especially with upcoming major tournaments before the World Cup in the Copa America and so on. I can't be more excited as a U.S. fan. This is the golden generation of U.S. soccer.
Yeah, and that's it. So for those who don't know, the U.S. will be hosting with Canada and Mexico 2026 World Cup, which means they have already gained qualifying to that tournament. Teams who haven't gained will be doing World Cup qualifiers for the next 4 years in order to earn their place. So during that time, the U.S. men's team will be playing these friendlies against other countries that have an opening in their schedule, like a Germany who qualified for the Euros already because they are hosting the next Euros. So therefore, they don't have any European qualifiers like England, France, Spain, and so on are playing. But yeah, I love to watch Gio Reyna back in the team. I just think he adds that extra. He keeps up with Weah down the right, Pulisic down the left, McKinney and Musa kind of holding back there in the midfield, just allows for that attack to fully go in all. I think you need that third player up there to kind of go with the attack, get some combination play. Like we saw Dest move all the way up as well in that overlap in the Gio Reyna's first goal, which was fantastic. So
super. Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's
so
been the best player on the field.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. The team is gelling. Super excited about that. But this is Wednesday, and that means NFL picks. Yeah. So we will get to those. But there's a reason why I wanted to start off with not only that great performance against Ghana, but also kind of this soccer idea. And that is because today it broke that Mecole Hardman from the New York Jets is being traded back to the Kansas City Chiefs for a late round pick. I don't know what it was. But my question to you, we see all across Europe, players being loaned out. Sergino Dest, for example, was loaned to AC Milan last year, to get more playing time, wasn't really fitting in his squad, gets more playing time and then comes back. We see in the NFL all of the time, players getting to the end of their contract, and the whole discussion is whether or not the team's going to pick up the option or not. Are they going to keep them on the rookie deal? Are they going to extend them? Are they going to just cut them? What do you do with players in that situation? And I personally think in implementing this kind of loan system where you are able to kind of sign a player and then loan them out where the other team is paying their salary can kind of benefit the player and the team who don't really know whether or not the player is going to be that integral and deserve that money. It's kind of it's to replace the franchise tag, because everybody hates the franchise tag, and I'm not for it. It's a 1-year contract. You get hurt, you're screwed. You don't get that security of a long-term contract that you could get in a sign and then a loan deal for a year where you come back and you're still under contract. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, the franchise tag isn't a good solution to this problem, but it's a really complicated one. That's the best thing the NFL has came up with thus far. Like you said, soccer handles it differently with the loan system. However, I think there's some issues with that too. The loan system, it kind of allows the stronger teams, the more wealthy teams, to grow young talent without having to pay the price of growing them themselves in the way they would pay the price of playing of themselves is to actually play them in games and let them develop as a youngster. And that's obviously really important. Like every young athlete needs minutes to become what they became. No, Peyton Manning wasn't Peyton Manning until he
28 interceptions in his first year.
Right, exactly. So I think the loan system might just like one good thing about American sports and like NFL is that you see a lot of teams rise up and fall very quickly, and that's really good, I think, for the fan base. Like the Lions right now might be the best team in the NFL right now. It's crazy to say. My whole life they've been pretty bad, but they just came out of nowhere, and now they're very good. And I think that's really good for the NFL. I think it keeps the fans engaged and stuff. So yeah, I see pros and cons with both. I like your idea of maybe implementing something like that in the NFL, but I think it could get a little problematic with just the best, most wealthy teams at that time being able to stay in power because they're allowed to just have signing rights for that player while he develops as a youngster on another team. Like if Kansas City had the next Patrick Mahomes on their team, they would never play him because you got in prime Patrick Mahomes. But if they sent them to, I don't know, the Steelers, the Patriots, who aren't doing so hot right now, especially with their quarterback position, to allow them to develop there and then become a very good quarterback. And then Kansas City has the rights to sign him back and replace maybe an older Patrick Mahomes like 5-10 years down the line, however long it is. And then the Chiefs are just really good again. And yeah, I don't know if that would necessarily be the best thing for the league, but
yeah,
it's a tough problem.
My whole point to that would be, well, if they are good enough, I mean, right now, in every single draft class that the Chiefs aren't going to take a quarterback, even if a quarterback of, who might be rated pretty highly
True.
will fall to them, they won't take it because they have Patrick Mahomes, where in this case that allows them 6 years, 7 years to get the quarterback position correct, to maintain what they rightfully should get, which is a solid, well-rounded team for picking Patrick Mahomes and developing him and seeing the talent from Texas Tech that many people may not have seen and getting the franchise to move forward. And I think it helps the players because they don't have to worry about these 1-year franchise tags. And the salary cap also kind of limits it. You talk about the big teams in soccer, your Real Madrids and so on, who can loan out these players, develop a whole B team until they all come back and they're all ready to go, and then flip-flop an A and B team and win 3 consecutive Champions Leagues. Well, in this case, they wouldn't be able to do that because the salary cap will still limit them to, a certain number of the best players in the league, but it just allows them a little bit more control and flexibility on when they can let those players go and not be forced to do anything and
Sure.
allow some player safety. That's my thoughts on it, but let's digress here and move into week 7 of the NFL picks. We went 9-6 last week. Jacksonville looking to get their 6th win as they travel to New Orleans on Thursday night. Trevor Lawrence battling that knee injury. The Saints, for some reason, get Alvin Kamara back. He's getting 20-plus carries a game. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas seems to be getting back into the fold. Deep threats all over the place with Derek Carr, and yet they've only scored over 16 points once this entire season. I don't understand it. I don't know where it's going to come from. New Orleans currently 1-point favorites. I think it's because of the fact that Trevor Lawrence has that, that knee injury. How well will he move? We know that Saints defense is still, all right. But I think with Travis Etienne emerging, being able to dink and dunk to him, I think it's going to help Trevor Lawrence, even if he is battling a little bit of a knee issue. I'm rolling with the Jaguars in this one. What about you?
Yeah, I like Jags here. Obviously, the Lawrence injury is a worrisome one, but it seems like they're pretty optimistic that he'll go, and Derek Carr just doesn't look good. The Saints on paper look like they should their offense should be clicking. Like if you woke up from like a coma from 5 years ago and you got Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr on the same team, like you would think. Michael Thomas, yeah. Olave, yeah. They just look like their offense should be flying and they can't get anything going. I think the Derek Carr shoulder injury, that hard hit he took a few games ago, has not allowed him to like really get his momentum. I think maybe I could see them figuring out in a few games and start to click, especially with Kamara, obviously. Being suspended the first few games, they haven't had a chance to click. Maybe they click here. I'm not picking them this week, though. Jaguars.
Yeah, if they can get that going, prime time there in New Orleans is going to be fantastic. It's going to be loud, but I just think Jacksonville will have too much. Perfect. The Raiders will take on the Bears. I really don't know what to say about this one. Justin Fields did not practice today. Out of the third quarter last week against the Vikings as they went on to lose that game. Justin Fields, I think 6 wins under his belt. They're going to be playing their backup quarterback most likely, their third string running back most likely. We'll see if Devontae Adams, Max Crosby can get healthy for the Raiders and go on and play this weekend. But I think I sadly have to pick the Raiders in this one just because there's just too much concerns with the Bears being able to win when healthy, let alone with their third string running back and their second string quarterback behind Justin Fields.
Yeah, and the Bears can't catch a break, but they always have the draft in their back pocket. They just anytime they get sad, they could just think, well, we got two first overall picks.
Do you take Caleb Williams though? Caleb Williams came out and said that he will not play for the Bears.
That's a whole episode's worth of conversation. Yeah, Justin Fields, you got to feel sorry for him. He's finally starting to really, really look like
loan him out.
This would be a good time to pick up Caleb Williams and loan him out. Well, you see if Justin Fields is the real thing. Yeah, it's tough. He got injured at a really bad time, and the Raiders are benefiting from that hugely. I can't believe we're picking them to be an above
winning record
team. Yeah, I'm picking Raiders.
Yeah, we got to roll Raiders in this one. I already clicked the Colts on this one, but I'm kind of conflicted here. Deshaun Watson, a couple weeks ago he came out and he was a healthy scratch where
it looked like a minor injury. Yeah,
he pulled himself out of the game. DTR goes in, throws 3 picks, loses to the Ravens. Everybody thinks after the bye week, Deshaun Watson's going to come back and be healthy. Now we hear rumors of a shoulder injury. And now this week leading up to the Colts game, he comes out and says specifically, I will not put a timetable on my injury. And to me, that tells me that he's going to be out for a little while longer. He has his money guaranteed. You hate to think that he's just kind of sitting back and taking in the guaranteed money. But what a performance of heart and will from Kareem Hunt, from that whole Cleveland Browns team against San Francisco, especially the defense, to stay in it, hold the ball for as long as they did. I think San Francisco ran 16 plays in the second half last week. You could see the heart. You could see the belief the fight from them. Do they have it again to go into Indianapolis? I don't know. Anthony Richardson got placed on IR this week. We know Gardner Minshew has gotten a couple starts. He will continue going. And for me, it's just tough. I want to root for the Browns. I think it's great that they are playing so well. They're rallying without Deshaun Watson. I think personally we could have a very big discussion at the end of the year whether Deshaun Watson will even be a Brown at the end of the season with the way that things look. To me, I think there's a lot of turmoil there. I think there's locker room problems. He's not throwing blocks as well in games when he is playing. I know maybe it's a shoulder injury, but you add all of this stuff up, it's a lot of smoke for there not to be fire for me. I like the heart the Browns are playing without him. But I also like Jonathan Taylor and Gardner Minshew to do decently well at home. So actually, I am going to roll Colts in this one.
Okay, I have to go against that pick. I was thinking more Browns. I like the points that you gave. I think it is going to be a close game. I think 83% to 17% doesn't really show how close this one is probably going to be. I think Gardner Minshew, like he struggled quite a bit against the Jaguars defense last week, and the Browns might be the best defense in the league right now, especially after what they did to the 49ers last week. And I think he's going to struggle a lot. Jonathan Taylor, though, obviously coming off that injury and starting to get some really good carries. I could see it either way. If you're strongly Colts, I'll let you take that. But
so here's, I think this is going to be a trend through a decent amount of these games. I think a lot of these look like they're going to be low scoring. So it's what do you lean on? Obviously, the Browns haven't thrown in a passing touchdown since Deshaun Watson back 4.5 weeks ago. There's a reason for that. They're playing their third string quarterback. Maybe DTR will get in there, but he threw 3 picks last time out. You got Kareem Hunt, who's questionable after that great performance, but he took a lot of damage against San Francisco. Obviously, Nick Chubb already on IR. Joel Bitonio, who's hadn't missed a game for 7 years, now missing time there on the offensive line for Cleveland. And I know what I'm getting. So I don't know what I'm getting really from Cleveland, from an injury, from an energy, from an anything standpoint. But from the Colts, I know I'm getting a good running game with Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. I know Gardner Minshew can make a throw when need to. He's not going to be doing, anything crazy because, we know what we're getting with him. But at home, I think that's why I got to lean a little bit to the Colts on that one. So you sticking with me?
I'll stick with you.
All right, let's roll Colts there. And I would love to see the Browns win, though. I must say that was a great performance last week. A team with not a great performance last week, but ended up with a win is the Buffalo Bills. They were a bad time management by Tyrod Taylor and a very, very questionable no call in the end zone at the end of the game on Darren Waller against the Giants from losing that football game. But they're playing the Patriots this week. Mac Jones and that offense also doesn't have a passing touchdown for over 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm riding Bills. You going with Mac Jones?
I think
there?
the Bills will be pretty happy about the order of their schedule here, where they really need a game to get back into gear because, really shaky win against a bad Giants team, but they're playing the Patriots, and I don't have any faith in the Patriots right now.
Yeah, it's very hard to have any faith, especially a big win for Buffalo will put them into contention as we get to the Miami-Philadelphia game. Miami won win ahead of Buffalo in the standings currently in that AFC East. In the NFC East, we have Washington taking on the Giants. Daniel Jones didn't play last week. He has that neck injury. Will we get Tyrod Taylor? Will we get Daniel Jones? I don't know. If I'm a Giants fan, I don't even know who do I want. Washington, 3 turnovers against the Falcons, 150 yards passing from Sam Howell and 3 touchdowns. He got short field after short field after short field, still only able to put up 24 points after that, getting the win in Atlanta to bounce back after that terrible, terrible loss to the Chicago Bears. And I just don't know what to make of either of these teams. Is it better with Tyrod Taylor? Is it better with Daniel Jones? I really don't know. I don't know
either. This game's going to be an interesting one, but I Yeah, these teams, I just can't figure them out. Like the Commanders look good one week and then they get crushed by the Bears the next week. Like it, both these teams don't really make any sense. I guess the Commanders have looked better. However, Saquon Barkley getting back in might help the Giants at home to pull it off. I don't know what kind of Sam Howell's going to show up on Sunday. So yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to roll Giants with this one. I hate they're terrible. They're terrible. There's nothing really to work with there. But honestly, I don't know what I'm getting, as you mentioned, from Sam Howell. I mean, 3 turnovers against Desmond Ridder, 150 yards of offense, passing the football, 3 touchdowns. But I don't know I'm going to get that great, that kind of performance, those kind of turnovers, especially if Tyrod Taylor is playing. So let's roll with the Giants at home. Tampa Bay, kind of an interesting performance last week. Everyone expected a lot from them after the bye week. Baker got Oklahoma to beat Texas during his bye week, and then comes home and throws up 6 points against a great, Detroit defense, but still was expecting a little bit more. Atlanta, obviously expecting to beat Washington, and then throws 3 interceptions. Desmond Ridder. They traveled to Tampa Bay now to take on a great rush defense in Tampa Bay. That's always what it is. Hopefully, Vita Vea will play this weekend, as he is listed as questionable going in to Thursday morning. And they've only allowed 83 yards on the ground per game so far, Tampa Bay. I think that'll help limit Robinson on the ground and force Desmond Ridder to beat them passing. I think with the attitude Tampa Bay has, I think they're going to bounce back and get a win after that kind of poor offensive performance against Detroit last week.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think the people who picked the Falcons here think the Buccaneers looked really, really bad last week, and they did. That's probably their worst performance of the year, but they played a really strong Detroit Lions team. And I don't have too much faith in Desmond Ridder going away.
Yeah, neither do I. 2 teams who have looked good when fully healthy, I guess I will say that. Obviously the Ravens picking up that loss against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago wasn't too great. Bounced back with a win last week to move to 4-2. Lamar Jackson looks better and better every week. Jared Goff has those Lions purring right now, 5-1, best record in the NFL. Only loss was to Seattle in overtime, 34-31 at home. They now will play on the road in Baltimore against that great defense. Who do you got in this one?
Yes, other than the Dolphins-Eagles game, I think I'm most excited to watch this one. I think it's going to be a great battle. The Lions are looking really, really strong. I think Lamar Jackson's looking really, really good. I could see this going either way. I kind of want to lean home team and go Ravens with the. It's crazy I'm saying Ravens with the upset over the Lions, but it would be an upset, and I'm leaning the home team here.
Yeah, it's one of those, these other games we were talking about, like, is the defense going to come through, because we know the offenses are so terrible. In this case, we know the defenses are so good, but if the offenses are purring, they might even be better than their defenses, especially when it comes to the Lions case. That game against Seattle, they lost the turnover margin by 3, still were able to put up 31 points, forced that game into overtime where they did end up losing. They've just been able to do whatever they want. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he's going to be questionable. He might miss his 3rd consecutive game. David Montgomery hasn't skipped a beat in those games.
Really use him that much anyway, because Montgomery's been doing so well.
Exactly. And so I think this game's going to come purely down to, can the Ravens pass the ball when needed? And can Amar use his feet to avoid that great defensive line that Detroit has? And I think he can. I think this is a moment where he really gets himself back into contention. I feel like people have kind of put Lamar off to the side, even though he has a great season, just in comparison to your Tuas of the world this year. So
yeah, last week Ravens didn't look so good, but I honestly think the London games can be so hit or miss with how the teams have to travel. Just going overseas, it's tough for the players, and I think I think he bounces back this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, and gives Detroit their first loss on the road this season. Pittsburgh looking to get a win after their bye week. Last time we saw Pittsburgh was that crazy ending to that Baltimore game where they did get that win. They traveled to LA to take on the Rams. And this game screams, how well will Pittsburgh's defense be? Because that's the only way that they will ever score points. No faith in that Pittsburgh offense. The Rams being able to run the football. I don't think I've been able to say that since Todd Gurley was there, but effective running from the Rams to complement Cooper Kupp coming back and all of the receptions that he is getting. The Steelers allowing 140 yards on the ground as well. I just think that the Rams offense is going to be able to get 2 or 3 touchdowns on the board despite that Pittsburgh defense. And I think that will be enough for them with Pittsburgh's offense being so anemic. I think I got to go Rams.
I completely agree. I think the Steelers will limit them, but I think the Rams will be able to score more than the Steelers will. The offense just doesn't look good. Even coming off the bye, I don't think they figure it out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Arizona falling to 1-5. They will now travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. 96% leaning with Seattle in this one. Do you see anything else but a Seattle win?
What a weird season for the Cardinals. Everyone picks them to be probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. They show that they're not in the first few games. They beat a really strong rolling Cowboys team, and then that's the only win that they've managed to get. I think Geno Smith will bounce back this week, though. He'll have a better week this Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Seattle at home. Kenneth Walker doing what he does best. Takes Seattle to a win. Green Bay coming off of their bye. Aaron Jones still limited in practice. I don't know what we got to do to get a healthy Aaron Jones. Got pulled after week 1. Sat out extra games to try and make sure he was healthy, gets a couple more snaps, then gets held out again, and gets into a bye week. And now we're all expecting him to play, gets held out again. Denver hasn't played since that game against Kansas City a week and a half ago on Thursday night. But I just have no faith in Denver. I will never pick Denver until they can show me anything other than what we've seen for the last 2 years, which is if you score 17 points, you beat the Denver Broncos. I think Aaron Jones gets back. I think he's eager to play. I think they'll find a use for him. I think they'll get to 17 points, and I think they'll win this game.
Yeah, this game kind of reminds me of the Raiders-Bears game where you don't really want to pick the Raiders to beat the Bears or to beat anyone, but you're not going to pick the Bears to beat anyone. And this is kind of how I feel. I don't, no pun intended, I don't love what the Packers are doing right now. But
they need Aaron Jones.
I think Aaron Jones gets quite a bit of carries this week and kind of runs over for the Broncos. We'll see if that hamstring holds up. But
yeah. Cooper Kupp came back from his hamstring. So far, so good. But we know the history of hamstrings. They will bite you again and again and again. And it's just so hard to avoid it. Patrick Mahomes has bitten the Chargers again and again and again the last couple of years. But all the games have always been decided by 4 points. Chargers and their 400 yards against through the air per game. Defense takes on the Chiefs in Arrowhead. 91% leaning Chiefs, despite the slow margin of victory when these two teams usually play. Are you leaning Chiefs? And do you think it'll be this much of a blowout as expected?
I don't agree with the line here. I think Chiefs are at like -6. I think it'll be closer than that, especially with it being a divisional battle. I do like Chiefs, but these games, Chargers-Chiefs, are always fun to watch. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, super fun. See McCall Hardman get worked back into the fold. See how many deep shots to him Patrick Mahomes goes for. We know we're going to see deep shots Sunday night as Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins travel to Philadelphia, who look to bounce back after that loss to the Jets. Jalen Hurts with a couple of turnovers there against that Jets defense, especially one very costly one late, that interception, trying to make something happen. Raheem Mostert was the starting back, then wasn't the starting back, then was the starting back. It doesn't really matter because he and Tyreek Hill have scored 13 combined touchdowns, tying an NFL record through 6 games as a pair on a single team. That offense, 500 yards of offense per game, but they are playing the Philadelphia Eagles after a loss. Jalen Hurts, 3 wins in his last 25 games. Now they're at home. They're going to run the ball. They're going to hold the ball. They're going to eat the clock. Do you think they'll be able to eat in enough to get a win against the Dolphins?
I think I'm going Eagles here, and I'll tell you why. The Dolphins have been tested one time this year, and that was against a really strong Bills team. And the Dolphins offense are very good at exploiting bad defenses, and they've done that this whole year, except for one game against the Bills, because the Bills actually have a very strong defense, and the Eagles have a very strong defense. I think that's what it's going to be. Dolphins are going to smash the teams that they're supposed to smash, but I think they struggle here in this big game. I think Jalen Hurts knows he has to bounce back from last week. Man, I'm so excited for this game, though. It's going to be such a good game. But I could see it going either way, but I'm picking Eagles.
Yeah, I've been true to one thing over the year and a half here on the webcast, and that is I love myself a home team. Every time I'm in a bind, I go home team. I think something about being under the lights in Philadelphia is going to give them that extra little bit of energy, of support, of being able to get this over the line. I do worry. We've seen Philadelphia. They've been beaten over the middle and deep. And that is just a recipe for disaster, for disaster when you're playing Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua in recent, exactly. And so I think that could be a problem, but Philadelphia knows what they need to do to beat a team like Miami, and that is hold the ball. Miami can only score when they have the ball. If Philadelphia can hold it, that would be great. Lane Johnson has an ankle sprain. We'll see, if he's able to go fully on Sunday. That would be a huge loss. Bradley Roby has a shoulder injury. Blankenship had an X-ray. It was negative. So a lot of injuries coming out of that Jets game for Philadelphia. So hopefully they can come back fully healthy. If they do, I think DeAndre Swift, Jalen Hurts will be the recipe to Philadelphia's success. And I agree with you. I think it's a different animal when playing away to Philadelphia than some of these other teams that Miami has played. San Francisco, after all of their injuries through the Browns games, not having the football, they are excited to have a team that will give away the football for free, and that is the Minnesota Vikings, even though they did pick up a win last week. You roll in 93%, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel returning, and the 49ers to get a win.
And I know the Browns, we were talking about them and saluting them for such a hard-fought performance, but at the end of the day, the Niners missed a chip shot to win that game, and they should still be undefeated. Literally everything had to go wrong for Brock Purdy to lose his first regular season game. Trent Williams getting injured for a little while, Christian McCaffrey getting injured, Deebo Samuel getting injured, and the Browns played really, really well defensively, and Brock Purdy couldn't handle that. I will give them credit there, but literally everything had to go wrong for them to lose a game. I'm picking Niners until some other team proves otherwise.
Yeah, rolling Niners. No Justin Jefferson still for Minnesota, even though they got the win. I like the Niners in that one. We make all of our picks here at the webcast on ESPN. We are looking to get past this 300,000 mark and rebound from a couple of bad weeks there in the middle of the season so far. We are entering week 7, so it's still a lot of football to be played. So make sure you're getting your picks in at ESPN and pick along with us throughout the season and try to beat our 53-40 record. But this is kind of one of the best times of the year with all of the sporting events. You got nighttime baseball. You got the EPL returning this week. So come join us for our EPL picks as Jacob looks to stay undefeated so far in his Premier League picks. We will see you then. Thanks for joining us.